Welcome to another Men2Men podcast. I'm Malik Carey along with my co-host Brett Carroll. Brett, what's going on, man?
How about them Cowboys? How about them Cowboys? Hey, look, I'm not gonna go off on you, brother. My boy's a big time Cowboy fan, so I'm gonna, and you. So I'm gonna respect the grieving process that you're going through.
Yeah, man. Fire Dak, fire the coaching staff, fire the owner. I think we just need to clean house and sell the team. So let's.
You go from going. Wait a minute. Now hold on for a minute. So let me get this right. You go from winning the Super Bowl to selling the team. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm feeling you, bro. I'm feeling you.
That's how bipolar my season is.
I hear you. I hear you.
So what's going on, babe? Talk to me. What's happening?
Well, last week we had a pretty interesting show. We talked about what women think is a good man, or what women believe are the qualities and the characteristics of a good man. What's interesting is I got some feedback from some brothers, and I know you got some feedback from some brothers, and so to me it was very interesting.
So tell me what the brothers had to say.
Very emotionally charged, and so we're going to talk a little bit today about some of the feedback that the brothers offered.
Yeah, talk to me. What's going on? Tell me some of the feedback. Let's talk about this.
A couple of big themes. The first big theme seems to be that our women want we brothers to be Superman. So when I throw that at you, what are your reactions to that?
That some of these women got some real unrealistic expectations.
Okay.
So why do I say that? Because there's no way that we can be Supermen, right? We are vulnerable. We're frail. We come across tough. We come across in ways that we want to be everything to everyone, but there's no way possible that we can do that. And a lot of times I think that we are, sometimes I think we set ourselves up for failure because we try to do that. And in a lot of ways, we fall short. And then when we fall short, or we may portray that, especially around the dating stage, we portray some certain things. And then, the sister gets to know us or that person gets to know us and they're like, whoa, he was a fraud or he came across that way, but he presented well. And so I think that that's a way that we can look at this and start to talk about this is how we present, because sometimes we may present in one way. And so we put some expectations out there for the women to think that we're this way. And then come to find out, some of the brothers just don't match up to what they look for or the expectations, right? We talk about unrealistic, unmet, and unspoken expectations.
That's a good point. And a few of the things you said kind of lead directly into some of the responses that I got. Whole concept around our women want us to be Supermen have a couple outcomes. And one of the outcomes is a brother said to me, we brothers, some of us die trying to be Supermen. So I asked him what he meant by that. And he said, you have brothers out here who are willing to, go through the wall, who are willing to enable, and they try their best to be their Superman, to be the Superman for their woman because they love them. They want to be with them. They want to please them. So they go all out. They make the necessary sacrifices. They make the necessary compromises. But there comes a penalty with that, or there comes a consequence with that. And a couple of brothers were talking about how when they do that, they find themselves giving up their identity. They find themselves giving up their individuality. Another brother, well, not another brother, a few other brothers talked about how they wind up losing their freedom. So talk a little bit about this whole concept of brothers who die trying to be Superman. What do you feel about that?
I know you challenged me on this last week when I said that, sometimes these brothers go out here and I think you had talked about, trying to show a woman how much you love them and they're doing it and they're going out of the way and they're trying to show them. And the woman is, if she doesn't love herself or value herself, you could be spending the rest of your life trying to please this woman who doesn't do that. And in some ways, even with brothers, because a sister hasn't really had a frame of reference of what a good man is or any of those things. And so a lot of times what happens is the brother he's spending his time, he's spending his energy, and she may not feel worthy, or she may not, or maybe, let me go back to this. She may have these unrealistic expectations of what a man is because she's never even seen a man, right? She may not have had that, what a father looks like or what a father figure looks like. And so some of this stuff is foreign, and she may be comparing herself to the next woman who's man a certain way or whatever. And so a lot of times this relationship thing is so complex that, you know what? Yeah, man, I feel like I'm giving you everything. I've given you the world. I've humbled myself. I've died to myself, and I'm still not feeling appreciated. And so some of it may just go right down to being felt like what I'm doing for you, you appreciate. And so some of the feedback I got was, you know what? We giving these brothers, I'm giving this sister everything she wants, but what is she willing to give in return? Right. And so we got this thing going on, this yo-yo, this give and take thing. And the brothers feel like I'm dying to myself. I'm giving you everything, but you not meeting my needs, or you not giving me what I think I need. And so I think it goes back to communication. I think it goes back to understanding what, a man is to himself and willing to say, listen, these are my non-negotiables. This is who I am. And I'm not going to give up my own identity to try to please a woman. I want to be here for you. I want to love you. I want to adore you, but I'm going to stay in my identity. And for the brother, that's knowing who you are first. So you got to have an identity to know I'm not giving that up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But here's the thing, though. And I know people like this who love hard, and they go all in,
mm-hmm.
and they are willing to make that compromise, make those compromises, and they are willing to make those sacrifices. But what I'm hearing is when I do that, I lose myself. I lose who I am. I lose my identity. I lose the individual that I am, and I find myself existing for the purpose of pleasing my woman. So
let me speak to that real fast. And this is to the brother. I'm really going to say this to the brothers. Then you're in the wrong relationship. And then because loving hard or loving is one thing. When I got to give up or lose myself or my identity, then I'm out of balance. And there's no one that I should be able to love enough that I'm going to give myself up for. Die to self, scripture wise and all of that. But I'm talking about when I'm just literally feeling like I'm on a merry-go-round trying to please somebody, then I need to get off that merry-go-round. That's real talk.
That's real deep too. And the reason why I say that's deep is because that's good advice, number one. But number two, I bring it up because there were several people who said this. Mm. And so I'm making an issue out of this because there are evidently, there are a lot of brothers out here who are stuck
mm-hmm.
in that here I am, I've made my decision, I've made my bed, I've got this woman, or I'm married, maybe I'm I'm not, maybe we have kids, maybe we don't, but I'm in this thing for the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm in it, I'm lost in this relationship and I'm lost in this woman. You said wrong woman. Excuse me. I respect that. And in many cases, maybe it is the wrong woman.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if you love the woman enough to want to stay? What happens if the commitment is so deep, the investment is so long and so deep that you can't leave? How does that brother then reconcile with himself so that he doesn't feel the way he feels.
So I'm going to give two vices. So first of all, then, you know what, if I'm loving that deep, then that hard, and I feel like I've lost myself, then I need to go find myself. Second of all, then maybe we need to go do some counseling. Maybe we need to, take a step back and see where this relationship is going, and then find out in myself, why did I lose myself in this? Why did I allow this relationship to take me to a place that where I never went? Because again, and I love black love, right? We're talking about black love, really, especially coming up around Valentine's Day and all of these things. Have I even been taught to love? Because losing myself is not love. Losing myself is, why did I get myself here? Right. And I guess the question is going to always be, why did I get myself to a point where I lost my identity, where I gave up my friendships? And I've seen brothers like you who've done that. They give up everything. They give up their friendships. They're trying to please a woman, trying to please their mate. And you know what? A relationship it's reciprocal, right? It goes back and forth. And if I'm all giving and there's no receiving, then again, I have to step back and say, where's this relationship going? Again, if you lost yourself, go find yourself, right? Do not allow a woman, and I'm just saying this in a loving way, to take you outside of character, right? And so many of us do it because we're trying to please, and you can't, you know me, Brett, and I say this all the time. You can't make a woman happy. I can't make anybody happy. Right. Not just a woman. I can't make anybody happy. And a lot of times we hear this, I just want to be happy. I just want to make my wife happy. No, that's not my job. My job is not to make my wife happy.
Okay, so that's a whole nother subject. So let me just quickly respond to what you just got finished saying. Clearly, we have choices. Clearly, if we choose to want to make the marriage work or make the relationship work, clearly we as brothers and women, let's be honest, and women have to make sacrifices, have to make compromises. There's no way you can have a successful relationship that's real, that's going to last, without both parties making compromises and sacrifices. So the question then becomes, where do you draw that line? What's acceptable? What's an acceptable sacrifice? What's an acceptable compromise? And how does that differ between losing one's identity, losing one's individuality? And the only reason why I bring this up is because this is really not the foundation. This is the dynamic of every single relationship.
The dynamic of every relationship should be that we bring out individuality to the relationship. And the day that I lose myself, the day that I take myself out of that, is the day that I've crossed the boundary that maybe I set for myself or didn't set for myself, that I'm trying to please or I'm trying to do whatever it is that's taking me outside of my own identity. So that goes back to people pleasing. That goes back to I'm trying to make my spouse or my mate more than what I am to myself. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but it does make sense. But I think successful relationships, you have that balance. I think you can please your significant other, whether it's your wife or your girlfriend. I think you can love her. I think you can make those sacrifices. You can make those compromises. I think you can do those things without losing your identity.
Right. But that's when it becomes out of balance, right? When it becomes out of balance is when I lose my own identity. That's when it steps out of balance, right? It's in balance when we're working together, when we're reciprocating in all facets of the relationships. But whenever I lose myself, then the relationship becomes out of balance because I'm really not happy in this relationship. I'm here to please at that point.
Okay. And I get that. And that's a good point. And that does lead to the second significant points, plural, that were made to me, which is you put out, you give yourself, you give of yourself, you make the compromises, you make the sacrifices, and you fail to succeed. You fail. And so then as I'm told, brothers get labeled. Brothers are considered to be failures. Brothers are considered to be no good. Brothers are considered to be worthless. Brothers are considered to be selfish, incompetent, not up to speed, not up to par.
So did I fail in this relationship, or did I fail to meet your expectations?
Well,
see, that's where we go, right? Because I didn't meet your expectations, then you failed. So then you label me as no good because I didn't meet the expectations that you had for me in this relationship. And so if I bounce or decide this relationship don't work, yeah, you get blamed for it. And you know what? So does that mean you're going to fail again? No, don't stop trying to be the man you're supposed to be, especially if you feel like you did everything not right. I'm not going to use the word right or wrong, but if you brought your unique gifts and talents to the relationship and the relationship didn't work, you didn't fail. You just didn't, that relationship might have not been for you. And so for me, when you talk about, oh, he failed, no, this relationship didn't work. Now, you can call it a failure. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But this relationship didn't work for this season. But I'm not going to stop being who I can be. I'm going to learn from this relationship, and I'm going to take it into the next and try to be the better man for this next person or for myself. And always, to me, it always goes back to myself. Because that relationship didn't work doesn't mean it failed. It means it didn't work. And so, yeah, if, you got the mama out here or the sister out here saying, oh, blaming everything on you, then you know what? Take it, own my part and move on.
Yeah, because one of the things that a couple of these brothers talked about was the frustration they feel, the anger they feel, the bitterness they feel about going all in and trying to meet all those expectations and trying to be everything that their woman wants them to be. But to your point, to my point, to their point, it wasn't enough. It simply wasn't enough. And so
that goes back to those, we talked about it early on, why I always say three reasons relationships fail: unrealistic, unmet, and unspoken expectations. And so did I meet the expectations that this woman had for me? Did I meet the expectations that, were there any expectations set? Were we clear on where this relationship was going? And if we weren't, then you know what? Yeah, it's gonna fail. And so you know what? Learn from it, pick up and move on. And what kind of baggage did I bring to this relationship? Relationships are so complex.
Right.
And so when we talk about, the good man, and that's what we were talking about, and this was what led it. And we polled women who, gave us their model of what a good man looked like. You know what? And maybe we're going to do an episode later on what's a good woman. And we're going to poll the brothers and see what do they feel a good woman looks like. Right. And so there's always going to be a give and take when it comes to relationship. But if I come in and I don't meet that woman's expectations, then yeah, I failed. Or in her mind, I failed. But that doesn't mean that I'm a failure.
Well, that's a good point. And the reason why, again, I heard this from maybe 3 or 4 different brothers, and they were talking about, when that happens, when they pour their heart and soul into that relationship and it doesn't work, and then they're criticized or labeled or judged, it leads to resentment, and it leads to bitterness, and it leads to anger. And one brother told me it leads to brokenness. And you said it a minute ago, what happens when that person takes that into the next relationship? And so one of the things that I've heard, some of the feedback that I got was that trying to be that quote unquote Superman, when you fall short, to your point, yeah, you can walk away. Yeah, you can learn from it. Yeah, that's not the right relationship. And those are all good points you're making. But I've got a couple of people who are talking about that's devastating. And that breaks brothers, and it puts brothers in a angry, bitter, resentful mindset. And and I know, everybody knows, you kind of carry that into your next relationship unless you take a step back and do what you said and realize that, okay, this didn't work, but that's not a reflection on me. Now, sometimes it is a reflection on you. Sometimes I think it's important to take a step back and realize, instead of taking it personal, I know it's hard to do that, take a step back and realize, well, you know what, maybe I didn't do this. Maybe I should have done that. Even though I tried, I gave it all I had. Maybe I can learn from, I'm not going to use the word failure, but maybe I can learn from the fact that this thing didn't work. What was my responsibility?
What was my part in it?
What was my part in it? And what do I need to learn? How do I need to grow so that I can move on and go forward, so that I'm not broken, so I'm not bitter, so that I'm not resentful, so that I'm not angry, so that I'm not frustrated, so I can be whole, right? So I can be whole for the next attempt at trying to build a strong relationship. Another thing that I got that I want to get your feedback on is that one of the reasons why we have so many individuals who are not in relationships is the simple fact that you have a lot of these brothers, and this was told to me, and it makes sense, I want your opinion, who basically say, you know what, if that's what you want, if that's what you need, if that's how you feel, then I'm the wrong dude, I'm out. And so I've had a few brothers say to me that this whole Superman syndrome, which is what one brother called it, is something I'm not playing. I'm not doing this. So I'm bouncing. I don't want to lose my identity. I don't want to lose my freedom. I don't want to lose my individuality. I don't want to lose my ability to do what I want to do when I want to do it. Not for this particular person, not if I have to meet those particular criteria. Excuse me. What do you say to that?
Yo, man, I love that. You know what? That's really good, because when I hear some brothers say that, and especially the young bro, I don't want to give up my freedom. You know what? Well, when you get into a relationship, there's a part of freedom you are giving up, right? And so I can't come into a relationship like, yo, man, I don't want to give up my freedom, because there's a level of freedom you do give up. So when I take on the role of a relationship, especially as a husband, yeah, I'm not hanging out all night. I'm not doing the things I used to do, because I have to be honorable and integral to my wife. And so, yeah, there are some things we give up.
And see, that's what I was getting at before when I talked about brothers coming to me saying, hey, if I love her, if I want to be with her, if I want to make this work, I'm going to have to make compromises. I'm going to have to make sacrifices. When I do that, I find myself losing my identity.
Well, that's where I'm talking about giving up my freedom in certain ways shouldn't mean that I lose my identity, right? So the brothers come in there saying, yo, I'm these are my hard no's, right? I'm and I see a lot of young brothers doing this, right? Why are you telling me what to do? Why are you showing me what I'm not talking about that. Me saying, you know what, dude, yeah, my freedom is given up because, you know what, yeah, I used to hang out with the fellas, but my wife needs me at home, or we need to do something. That's what I'm talking about. If I'm used to going to the Cowboy game every Sunday, and you know what, with my fellas, and that's something I come into a relationship and say, yo, babe, you know what, on Sundays after church, yo, I'm meeting my boys at the Cowboy game. And I've been doing this for years. And then my wife starts to put a demand on me to say, well, I need you for this and I want you for this on Sunday. I may say, you know what? There's some Sundays, fellas, yo, I'm going to see you. And there are going to be some Sundays, babe, my wife needs me.
So now you're
making
talking.
A compromise.
Okay. See, now you're understanding what I'm getting at. So, So here's the question then. Mm-hmm. You said, now I'm going to make the compromise. So I'm not going to see the Cowboys every week. I'm not going to hang out with my boys every other week. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that, because you're making the compromise. You're making the sacrifice because you do love in your case, your wife, but in other cases, it could be just your girlfriend or somebody, or somebody you're trying to get with, somebody you're trying to establish a relationship with, somebody you're trying to prosper a relationship with. So again, it comes down to, if you're doing that though, Malik, if you are doing that, do you feel as though you're losing your identity?
No.
Do you feel as though you're losing individuality?
No.
Okay, so that's the message.
The day that I lose my identity is when I say, no, fellas, you know what, man, I'm married now, so I'm giving it all to my wife because, I used to hang out with you. Y'all my boys. I'm giving up on my Cowboys. I'm giving up on everything because I need to go please this woman. But that's when I lose my identity, because my identity is in, you know what? I still got to get with my boys. I still got to spend time with them. I still got to do that. The day I pull back from that, the total way I pull back from that is the day I lose my identity, because I'm saying, nah, I need you home every Sunday. No, I'm not doing that. And the day I say to my boys, yo, I'll see you later because I want to go home and please her, is the day I lost my identity. The day that I said, fellas, I'm willing to make a compromise to my wife. I say, babe, I'll see you one weekend. I'll see them one weekend, or whatever it is. The day that I stop doing the things that make me happy, or the day I lost my identity, then I got to recheck the relationship.
Okay. Well, see, again, that's where I'm going. Me personally, I don't think compromising, I don't think sacrificing automatically means you're losing your identity.
No, exactly. No, right.
And I don't think it means you lose your individuality. Again, to be clear, because there are people who are going to hear this, and I just want to make sure we're not sending the wrong message. You have a choice.
You got a choice.
You got choices.
Yes,
so
sir.
If you're going to be in the relationship for the right or wrong reasons, whether she's the right person or not, if you choose to be there and if you choose to want it to work, you can make sacrifices. You can make compromises.
Right. And so
and you can do so without losing your identity.
Your identity. And that's what I'm talking about. Perfect example. Again, I go to the Cowboy game. I've been hanging with my fellas for 20 years. We've been watching the Cowboy game together every Sunday. I get married. Say, hey, listen, I know on Sundays that's what you need to do, but can you give me a Sunday a month that you spend with me? Sure, I do that. Now, the wife that says, hey, can you stop singing your boys every Sunday? And can you give me 3 times and then 1 time? We got to talk about it.
Do you lose? Question.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, does a brother lose his manhood? Does a brother lose his so-called street cred with his boys when the brother says to them, yo, appreciate y'all, but I can't do it tonight. Can't do it next week. Can't do it that weekend. How do you think, is there peer pressure on brothers to be brothers and to have that quote unquote street cred? And does that affect the way either the brother feels about himself, or does that affect the way the brother diminishes or minimizes the compromise or minimizes the sacrifices that he might make for the good of his relationship? You understand that question?
The young brothers used to have this quote, bros over hoes, right? Remember that quote, right? So the brothers, I used to see them, and we all been there, you get with your fellas, and then that one brother gets the girl. The one brother out of all the dudes get the girl, and he starts to pull away, and we start to tease him. Yo, man, you giving up your girl. And we see, you know what? He lonely. He got the girl, and everybody else go home lonely at night, right? So who's the real dude? And so when I look at that, what's street cred? If I like somebody and I'm willing to give my all to that person, I shouldn't have to lose in street cred. I shouldn't have to explain anything to any of my boys, because my boys should want the best for me. But it's always the lonely dudes who are the ones talking with the brother who got the girl going home with her every night, and he happy, but we putting the demand on him. Yo, man, come out tonight. And then the brother saying, nah, man, I'm playing with my girl. I respect the dude like that. I'm not coming out tonight. I got time with her. Because the peer pressure is real. Yo, man, you giving your girl up. My son is like that. Yo, man, he got a couple of dudes, they got girlfriends. Oh man, he got a son. Yeah, he got a son. He need to be home with his daughter, and he ain't hanging out till 2 o'clock in the morning nowhere. But y'all want him to lose it and be lonely like y'all.
Yeah. That's interesting. And the younger Now you talking about your son, and so I've spoken to a couple of younger people too. Their take is very different. Young brothers say that their women or their sisters, the women in their peer group, they don't want a whole lot. They want a friend. First of all, their focus is on their careers. Mm-hmm. Their focus is on them and their careers. And what they want from men are basically friendship. They want somebody who can laugh with them. They want somebody they can talk to. They want somebody they can hang out with. But they don't necessarily want somebody that they depend on or want to love. They're not interested in getting married, not interested in having kids. And so young dudes, from what I'm told, mm-hmm. are basically just hanging out with girls. And the girls are just hanging out with them. So that pressure to perform, that pressure to meet expectations just isn't there. So my question then is, okay, so there's no expectations, right? Mm-hmm. There's no pressure, and that's good. That's a good thing.
Those are all good things.
That's a good thing. So then what's the goal? What's the ultimate goal with these young folks? And their response to me was nothing. They didn't have an answer. So I ask you, we're older, obviously. Mm-hmm. We're full-grown adults, obviously. These are young adult men. What does it say about the state of our young people when they don't seem to be interested in anything permanent or real or foundational?
Because this society has gone in a different direction, right? It's easy now to court. It's easy to, we were talking about it earlier. I can pick up an app, and if I want to meet somebody for a night, I can. So there's been no real commitment. And so the expectations of that good man, or that good woman have been, they don't care.
Yeah.
Right. So, again, the 40-year-olds seem to respond different than what the 30-year-olds responded to this, mm-hmm. And so, I think that, there is no real commitment, and what society is saying now, especially 63% of, it's only 27% of black men and women are married today.
Yeah.
Right. So look at the percentage of black relationships, black marriages. What it's been a model. So yeah, it is about hanging out. It is about living together before we get married, or not just living together and cohabitating. And again, so the brothers who are trying to be good men, they're being challenged or not being challenged because the women are not even putting pressure on them. Back in the day, it was if you want it, put a ring on it.
Right.
Right. That was a song in the 90s or whatever, early 2000s. And now they don't even have to put a ring on it.
Right.
Women want, like you said, they're focused on their careers. They're focused on everything else. And so what is the expectation? What is the, so the brother don't even have to worry about being good.
And then the other thing too is, we talked about this a week or two ago on previous episodes. You have this pool of women who say, I think you said this, I can't find a good man. Either they're married, mm-hmm. Or they're in jail, or they're dead, or they're not interested in me as a black woman, or they're not interested in women, period. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at all those different variables, it makes it hard for a black woman to have a realistic expectation that she's going to meet somebody, mm-hmm. that she's going to ultimately be with somebody. So therefore you develop, they say you are what you think. Mm-hmm. And so if you have an attitude or an expectation that I'm not going to have or I'm not going to be with, then you develop a mindset.
Oh, it's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah. And you develop a mindset of being alone, maybe not lonely, but being alone. You develop a mindset.
I think there's a whole lot of lonely women out here.
I think there's a difference between being alone.
No, I'm saying lonely. No, I'm saying I think there's a whole lot of lonely women out here.
Okay. But those lonely women are those women who are alone because of their situation. They've developed that mindset of saying, "This is."
Or going back to that list, these lonely women, these brothers ain't meeting those expectations. They're not checking that box.
Well, let me go there. Let me go there because here's where I'm gonna disagree. If you're alone or lonely, ain't too many boxes to be checked. Now, let me just say this real quick, and I might be wrong, but I'm thinking if I'm a woman and I'm alone, if I'm a woman and I'm lonely, that means, let's say lonely. Alone, I think is a choice. Is a choice or condition. Lonely is I think a feel.
I think lonely is the condition.
Okay.
All right. And alone is a choice.
All right. We're playing with words here. I think if you're lonely, I think that list of expectations goes from 10 to 5.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because I think the lonely person has an immediate interest of just trying to meet somebody and spend time with somebody because they're lonely. Because they're lonely. The person who's alone, I think, is one who is alone because perhaps her whole thing is, like I said a minute ago, this one's married, that one's in jail, that one is doesn't want to be with a sister. That one doesn't want to be with a woman. So therefore, I'm decided that I'm comfortable being alone until that right person comes along. That's a little bit different.
No. And that's what I'm saying. So yeah, I agree. But that lonely person, the one to me that's lonely is the one who she's given up. She checked all the boxes. Ain't nobody said, they ain't none of these brothers met her expectations, and I'm just done. Like, I'm just totally done. I'm gonna crawl up and I'm just giving up on the relationship.
Okay. I see that.
Right. The alone chick is the one that says, you know what, I'm gonna get here, I'm gonna get busy, I'm gonna do what I need to do. If that dude show up for me, I'm here, I'm open, and I'm gonna get busy doing what I need to do in my life. And I'm making a choice, and that choice says if the right brother show up, hey, we can swing it up. If we don't, you know what? I'm keep on moving with my life. That lonely chick is the one, I'm done.
I say, I think the lonely chick, as you refer to her, is one who is more willing and more open-minded to meet somebody. Because I think...
I think the alone chick is.
Okay, well, we disagree.
That's okay.
That's amazing. I think that's unbelievable. We actually disagree about something. Unbelievable.
That's it. I think the alone chick is the one who's more mean to somebody. That chick that's lonely, first of all, she lonely because he can't find nobody.
I don't know about that, man. I think somebody who's, I'm not going to beat a dead horse on this.
Listen, this is a good thing. I would like to get the opinion on that. That's something that if somebody's listening to this to respond, you know what? That's a great one. Let's get some responses out there.
I would rather be alone than be lonely.
Exactly. Okay. I would definitely rather be alone.
Okay, so my point is the person who's lonely, I think, is a little more open-minded, a little more, I don't want to use the word desperate, that's not fair, but a little more open-minded to meeting somebody, to wanting to be with somebody, to trying to make a relationship happen or work, and therefore is going to have less boxes to check. Because the goal of the person who is lonely is to simply not being lonely. There's a big difference to me. There's a difference between being lonely and alone. I believe that.
No, we're both in agreement with that. I think we're just saying it differently.
Okay.
Right. I think that the chick that, to me, the woman or the young lady who's lonely is going to make a lot of mistakes because she's so lonely that she's going to just keep jumping in and out of relationships that don't work.
I agree.
The chick, the young lady or the woman or the chick who is alone, she has options because she's making a choice to say, hey, you know what? I'm sticking in here. If that option come along, I'm gonna do what I need to do, but I'm gonna keep moving. The lonely chicks, the lonely woman, the lonely young lady, she's the one who's gonna make, because anything that comes under her radar, she may jump at. And so to me, that's how I feel.
Okay. I want to throw another comment out to you that I heard from a couple different people. And these brothers are talking about there's a double standard that society looks at single black women one way, and society looks at single black men a different way. Any thoughts about that before I share what their thoughts were?
Oh, definitely. I believe that society totally looks at. I mean, first of all, at a certain age, especially for a woman, society is saying, "Why are you single? Why? What are you doing single?" And that's for really any woman, not just a black woman or white. At a certain age, the biological clock is ticking and all of those things. And so, the brother who's single, he's a bachelor. He's good. He's out there. And so there is a double standard. I believe that, I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm hot. I'm a bachelor. I can find anybody. I can do what I want to do. For that woman, there is, why is she single? She ain't got no kids. What's wrong with her? What's going on? Right. And so, me and my fellas, before we got saved or whatever, I used to say, man, you find a woman over 40, she ain't got no kids, run. Right.
Okay. I want to ask a question. I want to follow up on that, but I think my spirit tells me to leave that one alone.
That was BC.
No, I understand. I'll leave that one alone. Well, what you're saying is interesting, but what you're saying is a complete opposite of what a couple of these brothers said.
Okay.
And what they said I thought was pretty interesting. So one says to me that when relationships fail, two things happen. Society looks at the brother as being a loser. Society looks at the brother as being deadbeat. Society looks at the brother as being the person who's at fault for the lack of success or the unsuccessful relationship.
It's always our fault.
Well, and this is what's been said. We bear the burden of making it work. We bear the burden of having to meet their expectations. And when it doesn't work, regardless of how much we put into it, we're looked at as though we were the failures.
That's different than what we talked about earlier. Okay.
Yeah. And we're the ones who failed, and we're deadbeats, and we're no good, blah, blah, blah. On the other hand, these brothers said, look at the way society looks at and this is very different from what you said. And this is the reason why what you said was interesting, and what they're saying is interesting, because it's totally different. They're saying society looks at them as, hardworking black woman. She's ambitious. She's career oriented. She's hungry for success. She's desirable. And so these brothers were saying to me, how do you think we feel when we're the ones that put in the work? We're the ones that got rejected because it didn't work out. We're the ones being looked down on. They're the ones being championed. They're the ones being made the heroes, so to speak, because that's the way society looks at them. Now, I don't personally feel that way.
I don't either. So I agree. I don't feel that way. Again, I mean, and what I've seen, and maybe they're, these are brothers that I've been married a little longer, so I haven't been out there and don't really understand that part. But I've always seen brothers, especially brothers that are doing it, that especially, like I said, they're bachelors or whatever. Now, then I do want to address something. And I say this a lot especially if I'm doing marriage counseling or, in the arena or working with couples. I do say, you know what? The man sets the temperature for a relationship.
But the woman controls the relationship.
No, well, let me say this. This is a great conversation. A man controls marriage. A woman controls sex. Different. A brother don't want to get married. He's not getting married. I don't care how you force him to do it. Only thing that a woman controls is sex. And she controls that temperature by, you know what? This is who I am. If you want it, especially if you're married or in a relationship, if she don't want to do it, she's not doing it. But a man controls marriage. And the reason he controls marriage is because, again, if he don't want to get married, I don't care how many times a woman that said you love it, you're going to put a ring on it, and he's out the door.
So I think controlling marriage is different from, go ahead.
And let me finish. Men are CEO of their home. Bottom line. In a relationship, I'm not going to say, but I'm talking about the married couples right now. And then even in a relationship, a man is the control. He's the CEO. And that home is going to go as he goes. If he's healthy, his relationship is going to be healthy. His home is going to be healthy. If he's not, his relationship is not, because you attract who you are. Because if I'm healthy, I'm not going to attract anybody who's unhealthy, because light can't shine in darkness. And so a brother who's coming in with, again, the expectations, or the sister that's coming in with these unrealistic expectations, if I'm healthy, I'm dude, I can't meet this. I'm ghost. And so that's what I mean by the man controls the relationship, because if a man is healthy, he's not going to go for certain things. Like I think somebody said earlier, I'm just not doing this. I'm not being Superman. I can give you what I can give you, and I can't. So to me, a woman does not control a relationship. A woman brings whatever she brings to the table, but a brother's up there like, look, this is where we are.
Well, my response to that is, I think it depends on the relationship.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the couple. I think successful couples are one where there is no control.
There you go.
There's no control. The man, and so you talk about a healthy relationship. So to me, a healthy relationship is when both people understand their roles,
mm-hmm.
both people respect each other, both people support each other, both people allow each other to be who they are,
mm-hmm.
and the man assumes the leadership, head of household role, which means, but it doesn't mean he controls the relationship. The woman, on the other hand, because she respects her man, because her man respects her, because he's doing the right things, she in turn says, you know what? I'm going to lovingly allow you to be that head of household, and I'm going to lovingly be the lady of the house. I think, so that's different to me than control. To me, now to your point, and I want to say this real quick, there are relationships where you have kind of like old school thinking, where the man says, this is my show, this is my council, I'm running this piece. Mm-hmm. And you have the woman who says, old school thinking, okay, I'm gonna back down, let you be the king, I'll be the queen. I get that. Yeah, but on the other hand, you have relationships where you have the woman who is strong,
mm-hmm. or has a stronger personality,
or is stronger, or
mm-hmm.
has the type A personality, the more mm-hmm. dominant personality. Mm-hmm. She runs the household, or she takes the lead because she has those skill sets. Mm-hmm. In a successful, healthy relationship, whether you're married or not, the man understands that.
Right. And that takes a healthy, strong man, though.
Well, but again, my point is, just to counter what you're saying, the man doesn't always have to be in control of a healthy relationship.
No, exactly. But I believe that a male and a female, because even a female, if she's healthy, she's not going to attract an unhealthy male, because she'll see through it. Right? Because when healthy people, again, she's going to be like, yo, dude, you just not where I'm at right now. And I understand it. But I don't think that if someone's healthy, they can attract someone that's unhealthy.
Okay.
I believe we attract who we are.
I agree. But I also believe that you can't help who you fall in love with. And I also believe that there are people out here who are at one place and space in life. They meet somebody who I'm not going to even say they fall in love with them, but they meet somebody they like. They meet somebody they're attracted to, and that person is not in that same place and space.
They may not be right.
Well, hold on for a minute.
I agree with that.
So one person is healthier than the other one.
Right, but again, healthier is one thing. But I'm saying if somebody's straight up just, I'm talking about very healthy. I'm talking about mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally, and they meet somebody who may be healthy emotionally and spiritually, but they come up financially. That may be one thing because they're working to do that. So they may be lacking in that area. I'm talking about the person that's just flat out in the gutter, and somebody just rolls up and says, "Hey, I'm just meeting somebody who's healthy." Right. I'm just using that as an example.
Okay, so you're talking about extremities. Okay.
Yes.
You're talking about extremes. I'm talking about normalcy.
Right. Normality.
I'm talking about the average couple. Yeah. Whether they're married, whether they're living together, whether they're just in a long-term relationship, or for that matter, a relationship that pretty much just started. I do believe that, I don't believe in the whole concept that everything and everybody's equal. Yeah. I believe that,
no, of course,
that you have your strength and she has her strengths.
Right. She's going to bring everything else. Yeah. And I totally believe that. I had a comment. I love this. It says, since there is no one size fit all to what a good man may be, sometimes a man may be ready and not necessarily have his goals and dreams identified. The suggestion would be to look for the traits you guys spoke about on the show, like character, integrity, faith, grooming, etc. This would give better insight to judging what a man by what he may just be than more of the superficial worldly things. To the woman, you may be the very thing that helps him figure out some of those traits.
So that goes back to what I was saying. Hypothetically, you have a woman. Mm-hmm. Hypothetically, this woman is very comfortable in her own skin. She knows who she is. She's good. She meets somebody who isn't as comfortable in his skin, who isn't as secure, who isn't as stable, who isn't as accomplished, who isn't as set in life as she is. Mm-hmm. But guess what? For whatever reason, she likes the dude. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, she wants to get to know the dude.
But she's identified some of those traits, though, right? So you're saying there's a woman that comes and says, you know what? He has integrity. He has faith, but he doesn't have all his goals.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's what he's saying.
Okay, and I get that. But right. I understand that. But what I'm saying is there are people who are here mm-hmm. who find themselves attracted to somebody who is down here, mm-hmm. not in the gutter. We're not talking about, we're not talking about gutter.
I understand.
But somebody,
they're on different playing fields.
They're in different places, different spaces. Right. Yes, different playing fields. Yes, and that woman just happens to be attracted to that dude for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. She's comfortable enough in her skin. She's comfortable enough with who she is to basically say, "Hey, let's kick it."
Right. But is she trying to fix him, or is she trying to build him up to be the king he can be?
No, what she's trying to do is establish a relationship with him to see where it goes.
Okay.
And it doesn't necessarily mean she has to try to control him. Doesn't necessarily mean she has to try to build him up. But what it does mean is because she's in the relationship, there's going to be an organic, natural influence that one has on the other.
Right. And I agree with that. There are some, I call them kingmakers, right? There are some women who can bring the best out in a dude. There are some women who are flat out can bring, but they've identified, again, as my brother said, who sent me this, they have identified, this dude got character. This dude is a hardworking person. He has the tangibles or the intangibles that I can roll with if he's not where I'm at. And I think that's some of the stuff that, as we get ready to wrap up, I think those are some of the things that maybe some of these women miss. I want this Superman, but he may not be the Superman I'm needing, but he has the characteristics to be the Superman. And what I've seen is some of these women, he's not checking all these boxes. I'm out until I find it. Joyce Myers tells the story about on the elevator on the first floor. This is a man, he's hardworking, he's this, he's that. Go to the second floor, there's another bunch of characteristics. Go to the third floor, they got a whole bunch of other characteristics. You get to the fifth floor, and then by the seventh floor, that man don't exist. right?
Right.
So we got to understand, I think, and this is just me, I think our sisters have put a lot of unrealistic expectations on men that need to be corrected. And that's why a lot of them are still lonely.
Very good. Very good. I like that. See, now I like that. And the other thing is also, I think, just based on what I've heard in terms of the responses, it comes down to choice. I think brothers need to understand that if they do want to be with somebody, I think I said this last week, you got to understand what they're looking for, and you have to make a decision as to whether you want to jump in that frying pan or not.
Right, and I think that comes from a early on conversation, because again, we put on that mask early. Right. Now I'm trying to impress them. I'm trying to get what I want and trying to see where this is going. But a lot of times, a lot of these brothers, first of all, we got to talk about this. A lot of times these brothers is trying to get the girls past in the beginning. And so a lot of that is now I'm setting myself up for failure because, I didn't put the cart before the horse. Right. And then after I do that, now we're in a relationship and we haven't talked about where's this really going? What are we doing here? Right. And this is the conversation I have with my son all the time. Yo, bro, what are you doing? What do you want to be in a relationship for? Right. Where's this going? Are you dating for purpose or are you dating just to be dating? And so we set our sisters up and we do our sisters a disservice because we come across, hey, listen, again, it's easy to put the mask is on. I'm telling you where I'm going, my goals, my dreams, whatever. And then, you take them down dead end roads. And I think some of the sisters have been, in their defense, they've been down so many dead end roads that they're hurt.
Well, the purpose of this whole conversation today, how much time we got left?
Oh, man, we got about 4 minutes.
Okay, the purpose of this conversation today, as well as the one last week, was for brothers and sisters to hear each other, hear each other's hearts, hear each other's heads, hear what each other's thinking, hear what each other wants. So that, because if you don't know what you want, how are you going? I mean, if you don't know if the brothers don't understand what sisters want, how they're going to connect, how they're going to meet the needs. If sisters don't understand how brothers feel about what they want, how do they make the adjustments that they need to be able to be attractive to a brother? This whole thing is about making brothers more attractive to sisters and sisters more attractive to brothers. The best way to do that, I think, is to have each group, each man and brothers and sisters understand what's important to one another. And so that's what this is all about. So my thing to brothers is, as I finish as I close out, my thing to brothers is, this is what sisters, if a sister expects you to be a Superman, learn what Superman means to that particular person.
Right.
And then see if you're willing to be that Superman to that person.
Right.
Negotiate. If we do this, if I do this, if we're together and this is what your expectations, well, I got expectations too. So the whole thing is that brothers and sisters need to meet and they need to sit down and they need to talk about what the expectations are. It doesn't necessarily mean that the woman really needs a Superman. It doesn't necessarily mean that the brother has to be a Superman. You just need to meet each other where they are based on what they need. So, so I thought this was a really good conversation. Hopefully, it could help brothers out there tune in and tap into sisters, and hopefully sisters can tune in and better tap into brothers. Man,
this is such a great episode. As we come up on next month, we're going to be doing some things around talking about Black History Month and also Valentine's Day and Black Love. I can't wait till we do that. And I think I got an idea on Black Love. So you know what? I hope we brought you guys another great session of Men2Men. Again, that's MEN2, the number 2 men. We are on Facebook, SoundCloud, and Instagram.
And YouTube.
And YouTube. So I thank you guys for another episode. And the ladies out there, you know what? Let's just go out here and make each other happy one day at a time. Thank you guys for another great episode, and peace.